Hi folks, Lou here with a bonus video, and it's a bonus because it has nothing to do with games specifically. I'm going to tell you about some YouTube channels I watch regularly in case you might find some that are interesting. And of course, owing to the pandemic, I watch YouTube much more than I used to. I hardly ever watch TV, and I found there's a lot of really good stuff, though time-consuming stuff, on YouTube. For many creators, this is their full-time job and they put a lot of time into it. So I'm going to talk about games, history, astronomy, and cooking. Now for games, we have the mighty Jingles, who has commentaries on World of Warships and World of Tanks videos that people send him. He also plays his own games, such as Elite Dangerous. He's a really reasonably competent player. He's not super good like Flambass, my other choice here. It's a way to get a gaming fix without the work. Jingles is 50 years old. He was in the Royal Navy 22 years old. He's very well educated for somebody who only has a high school education, and humorous and a good guy. And in the course of commentary, he teaches people how to play well. Now Flambass is a young fellow. I think he's Finnish, but I'm not sure. He plays World of Warships at a very high level and shows his own play. He doesn't do as much teaching as Jingles, but he is a very, very, very good player. History. Well, Drakenfell does naval history with deep dives. He has videos that are more than an hour long. He does outstanding research. He has a dry sense of humor with his English accent. He's really, really good. Kings and Generals is usually about battles and campaigns with nicely animated maps. Now, there are lots of other channels with animated battles, such as Invicta, History Marsh, Baz Battles, and others. I just find Kings and Generals to be the most interesting, and it's clearly made by a lot of people. There's also Military History Visualized, which has lots of interesting tactical info. The host is German, and he has a strong German accent, but he will read the actual World War II manuals and so on. The animated Every Day of History maps are also fascinating, and they come from several channels such as Alibi. Astronomy. We have Dr. Rebecca Smethurst, who's an Oxford PhD in astrophysics. And she's also somebody who likes to popularize science. She's 29 or 30. She has a wonderful North England accent, which is not at all what you'd expect of an Oxford PhD. She's amusingly goofy at times, very enthusiastic, and clearly very smart as well. And as I said, very good at explaining the topics. Then we have Anton Petrov, a math and science teacher, perhaps former math and science teacher, with daily explanations of new astronomical papers he reads, using a sky display software that he has that helps illustrate it all. So if you want up-to-the-date news about what's being discovered in astronomy, he's a place you can go. Cooking. I have never watched TV cooking shows, but lately, last few years, I've got used to watching YouTube cooking videos, and especially now with the lockdown, and there are lots of good ones. Chef John is one of those people who can modify or even make up recipes and come up with something simple but delicious. He's formerly a restaurant chef. He was a culinary school grad in his 50s. I think he's been doing videos about 13 years. He said something like he'd had over 2,000. And I've tried several of his recipes, and they are good. James Townsend and Sons is about 18th century cooking with John, who's a very affable host. And 18th century cooking is quite interesting, how different it is from modern cooking, of course, and yet there are some tasty dishes. Another one is Tasting History, which goes back even farther to sometimes medieval recipes with historical commentary and an amusing young host. Then we get Sam the Cooking Guy, who's more a performer perhaps. He's a Canadian self-taught cook. Formerly he was on TV. He's a restaurant owner in San Diego. Usually they are outdoors, although much of what they do could be replicated indoors. And he's amusing. And then we have Ethan Klabowski, who goes to the science behind cooking. Simple and practical, but explains why things work the way they are better than just about anybody I've seen. Pitmaster X is a Dutchman with the top grilling equipment, and it's about the meat and the sauces. He's youngish with a good accent to his English, so it took a while for me to figure out. I knew he was not English, but I didn't know he was Dutch until he said so. Barbecue Pit Boys, another very early channel still running, and it is hardcore outdoor meat cookery. Hardcore. I don't even have an outdoor grill anymore, but most of these recipes are possible indoors. So, I hope you find something worthwhile from this list. Thanks for listening.